Welcome to the Charleston Marketing Podcast, powered by the Charleston American Marketing Association, broadcasting from our home base at Charleston Radio Group. Thanks to CRG, we're able to talk to the movers and shakers of Charleston, from economy to art, from hospitality to tech, and everything in between. These leaders have made a home here in the Lowcountry. They live here, they work here, they make change here. Why? Let's talk about it. Here are your co-hosts, Mike Compton and Jake Cosmore.
Welcome to Charleston American Marketing Association. My name is Mike Compton, president of Roombo Advertising, and your director of membership. Today, we have our guest co-host, Kaz, is here joining us. Kaz, what do you do? Who are you?
My name is Jake Cosmore. I'm a senior at the College of Charleston. I'm the owner and creative director of Kaz Films, LLC. We are a marketing production company with a focus on videography and photography. I'm going to be on the board of the American Marketing Association.
That's right, we're excited to have you. But we also have a special guest today. Drum roll, please. Tina Singleton's here of Transformation Table. Tina,
hi.
How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. My first podcast.
Same.
I'm usually behind the camera, not in front of it. Yes. I'm the same way with you, Tina.
So we'll get through this together and
yes,
have a good time with this. Just to tell you a little bit of something about the Transformation Table. The mission of Transformation Table is to create space among strangers of different backgrounds, perspectives, and life experiences to come together to see, hear, and understand one another. Transformation Table supports communities to use food as a tool for connection and to promote cross-cultural understanding, combat hate, and promote peace and equity. Transformation Table began back in 2016 of November and has hosted in-home dinners and community events in the Lowcountry with over 500 community members. That's a lot of people. In-home dinners, I said that, featuring the cuisine and food stories of global chefs from 20 countries, including Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Iraq, Peru, and the Philippines. Transformation Table has been featured in the various publications, including Charleston Magazine, Edible Charleston, Organic Life, Tableau, am I saying that right? And the Post and Courier. Recently, we just documented a dinner for you.
You did.
That was awesome. Tell me about that dinner.
It was incredible. So the Charleston Wine and Food Festival contacted me and asked me if I would be interested in partnering with them at the Charleston Wine and Food Festival to co-host or to host a community table dinner. And so what that was is we had 100 people from the community of all different backgrounds, different races, ethnicities, different perspectives, like you said, in the mission. And we featured 6 global chefs. 3 were global chefs that previously cooked for Transformation Table, and then we had 3 that the Charleston Wine and Food Festival recommended that we think about having. So we ended up having this incredible diaspora of female chefs, and they were from Senegal, India, Afghanistan, Brazil, the Lowcountry, and Puerto Rico.
Whoa.
So it was a quite a global menu, and each chef presented one dish from their home country with a food story behind it. And then we had incredible beverage service and accompaniment by Graft Wine Shop and April Dove of the community brewery.
Right. It was awesome, but that was a special event. That's not your typical Transformation Table, was it?
It was. This was our first time partnering with Wine and Food Festival, and it went extremely well. The way that we started was by doing the home-based dinners, and we started with those because it's a way to bring people together in an intimate setting. You know, it's very different than being in a restaurant or, in a larger space. So it's a very different experience. But we started out with 10 people, 10 strangers, in a community member's home.
Just 10 people.
Just 10 people, because I wanted to make sure that, for one, everyone could see each other around the table, and the group was small enough for everyone to be able to see each other and to have conversation.
Amazing. Okay. Why is that important?
Because I think with social media, we have Facebook and TikTok and all kinds of social media. I think we're losing our ability to have face-to-face conversations and to look each other in the eye and really listen. I think a lot of times we're very ready with what we want to say to each other without necessarily hearing what the other one is saying. So it's really an opportunity for people to slow down. What's better than slowing down over a great meal? So the food is the tool for that. Yeah. But it's really an opportunity for people to slow down, have face-to-face conversation, to really hear people's stories, and to find those little points of connection that connects us to each other's humanity. And it's harder to do that over social media.
100%. Who can go to these things? Can Jake go to this?
Absolutely.
Can 20-some-year-olds go?
Absolutely. We've had youngins at the table.
Yeah?
And actually we like that because I think the more multi-generational and the more diverse the table is, the more interesting the conversation.
100%. Jake, would you go?
Absolutely. I would even be down to host a dinner. So
Fantastic.
You want to host a dinner in your dorm room?
I'm putting you down. I love that.
I'm just assuming he's in a dorm. He's probably not.
I'm 22. I live by myself. But no, I think it's a beautiful concept to be able to connect and hear all these interesting stories. So I was looking through your social media, I know, and I saw that there's like a lot of cool, like there's opera singers, you've had like chefs, you had I forget his name from the Graft.
Oh yes, Femi. He was our sommelier for the Wine and Food Festival community table.
Can you tell me about some of the most interesting and impactful conversations you've had sitting around this table?
Jake?
That's a great question. Well, one that I kind of always go to, and this was one of my earlier dinners, was we had dinner at Reshma and Hassan's home, and they're Muslim. And we had a really interesting conversation about religion. Reshma shared a very interesting story about how she wasn't sure she should wear hijab to work when she was at the time working at the Veterans Administration because she wasn't sure how people would react. And so she kind of took us through her thought process of how she ended up deciding to wear her hijab, and it went, it was fine. People accepted her and everything, she didn't have any issues. And then we had conversations, people around the table started asking questions about the difference between Islam and Christianity. And there were no questions that people weren't able to ask. Asan and Reshma were more than happy to answer the questions. And so I think creating space where people can ask hard questions and can ask questions without fear of being judged or being...
That's a big part right there.
Yeah, it is.
That's a big part. Nobody wants to sound like an idiot. Like I want to say, okay, so you say Jahib, the head... I'm assuming you're talking about the
headscarf. Yeah.
Headscarf. So I didn't want to ask that because I didn't want to be judged.
Right.
But I'm asking it anyways because I'm,
But that's the idea, and nowadays, we've gotten to the point that just asking a question can get you in deep trouble.
Right.
Especially
I think on social.
Definitely. And I think that's where we're going down the wrong road. We have to be able to create space for people to be able to ask the questions that they want to ask. That's the only way that you're going to break down barriers and stereotypes and assumptions that we have about each other. If we are able to ask questions that we think, well, this might be, because we all think that, right? I might be asking a stupid question, but, and what I have found is that people prefer to have you ask the question than to have a negative behavior towards them, or to have an assumption about them that is completely off base. And their behavior towards you is based on an assumption, and a stereotype. So, we welcome any questions, and people are very open to being asked those questions.
In the right setting, in the right place, with the right vibe, with the right everything.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And we're very intentional about that.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
Yes, you have to be, because I think, especially in an environment like Charleston, diversity doesn't always happen on its own. So you have to, I kind of think of myself a lot of times as a social engineer.
I love that.
Because
love that.
I have to, I curate the table, and I curate
so many
people.
Questions. Yes. I want to know how you find your chefs, but let's go back even further than that. 2016, you started Transformation Table. Why?
So when I moved here in April of 2016,
Where'd you move from?
Yeah. Okay.
You're like a woman of mystery, so I'm very intrigued.
Well, my background, I worked for over 25 years in international development, and my area of expertise is disability inclusion. So I worked in different countries, working with different international organizations on how to include people with disabilities in their field programs and their policies.
When did you start doing that?
Oh, well, I was a Peace Corps volunteer in 1991.
Yes.
So that's when it started.
Nice.
And then the last place that I worked before I came back to the States in 2014 was Afghanistan.
Okay.
And so I took a little bit of a break between 2014 and coming to Charleston in 2016. I became really interested in gardening and farming when I was in Afghanistan because I planted a garden in my compound.
And then you put up wire around it to protect it, right? Is it
Well, I was in a compound, so I was already protected, razor wire, and and all of that. Mm-hmm. And so I started this garden, and I had way too much produce because I didn't know what I was doing. So I had kale and collard greens and chard and all kinds of stuff. And my guards also liked to garden, so we all had this big kind of little community garden in my compound.
Cool. Okay.
And at that point, I was having people over on Fridays for lunch to just have some time to kind of chill and relax in a really stressful environment, and for us to kind of get to know each other. So when I moved to Charleston, it was coming up. It was actually the 1-year anniversary of the mass shooting at Mother Emanuel.
Yeah.
And I had gone to an anniversary event at the Gilliard Center, mm-hmm. and Bernice King was this keynote speaker. Mm-hmm. And during her talk, she issued a challenge to the Charleston community. And she said, Charleston, if you're serious about change, you have to find ways to love and understand each other, despite all of the differences. And she said, you have to get intimate. And she said, go to each other's homes, have dinner. And a light went off. Exactly. It went off, and I was like, that's exactly it. That's what I want to do.
So you took it upon yourself personally, Tina Singleton. I'm going to have dinners in people's homes.
Yes, I decided to test
10
it.
10 at a time.
Yes, I decided to test it.
It's an amazing mission. Go ahead.
So I hadn't been in Charleston all that long, but I had met enough people that I felt that I could invite to.
It doesn't take long to meet people in Charleston.
Dinner. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So my place is way too small to have anybody to do the dinner at my house. So I asked a couple that I'd recently met, Ashley and her husband, if they would be willing to host 10 people, 10 strangers in their home for dinner. And so Ashley kind of looked at me. She's like, okay, we'll try it. And then I proceeded to ask people that I had recently met if they would be interested in coming to this dinner, and they said yes. And then a friend of mine put me in touch with Janice Hudgens, who is the owner of Little Miss Ha's. At the time, she was catering, but she was my very first chef for that very first dinner.
What are they known for, Little Miss Ha's?
Vietnamese food.
Okay.
It's incredible. Shout out to Little Miss Ha's.
Yeah.
It's in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
If you've not been, you must go. It's fantastic.
Go. Yeah.
It's excellent. But Janice was my first chef. So she made us this incredible Vietnamese meal.
Okay. Yes.
And we had this incredible conversation, around the table, and I thought, wow, this was really fun, and I really liked this.
Who were these people? What all types of races? Like, I don't know any names. I just like.
Yeah. So we had a couple of homeowners. We had 2 retirees. We had an African American couple, Ashley and her husband Kendrick, who hosted. Their son sat at the table with us, who I think at the time, he was maybe 3 years old, 3 or 4. And then we had Kevin, who was I think Kevin was probably in his 30s, maybe. So it was the age range was it from, I would say, early 20s up to 70s.
And how did you get connected with all of them?
Sorry?
How did you get connected with all of them?
They're just people that I met in the community that I just went up to and said, hey, would you be interested in?
Look out when Tina Singleton comes into town. You might get invited to a dinner.
Hey, that's how I found my chefs,
you'll want to
too.
take it. I'm sure of it. That was my next question. How do you find these wonderful chefs?
Okay, so my chefs, it's kind of the same way. I asked, and when I wanted to find a chef, because I have a very special relationship with Afghanistan, and I wanted to have an Afghan dinner, and I wanted to find an Afghan chef, so I went to the mosque.
TikTok. He was found her on TikTok, and
I used my feet, and I went to
back in the day.
I went to the Charleston Mosque when they were having a community event, And I went in and I started talking to people and asked around and said, hey, do you know a chef or anyone who cooks who's from Afghanistan? And they gave me Fauzia Garner's name, and she's one of my favorite chefs. She actually was at the.
Was she at the dinner?
She did a dish at the. She did the Kabuli pulao, the national dish of Afghanistan. She did that dinner, or she did. She was at that dinner, but she was my second chef for Transformation Table, and I found Geeta Soni, who is one of the co-owners of India Spice, which is a really wonderful Indian grocery store in West Ashley. But I saw an Indian man in a farmer's market, and I went up to him and said, hey, I'm looking for an Indian chef. Do you know one? And he said Geeta immediately.
Yes.
So I just asked.
Yes.
I just asked people.
Yeah. You're one of those.
I am one of those.
I am one of those too.
I mean, I think that's just a great example of how powerful networking is, and just meeting people and asking them. I feel like you said that there is a generation, with our generation, the younger generation, they're too afraid to just go up and talk to someone, where it's so hard to have a face-to-face conversation. And this is a perfect example on how you should go on why you should go up to people and talk to them, and the network and the connections that you can make by having a simple conversation.
It's tough to go to people when they're looking like this. You know what I mean? I'm looking at my cell phone right now for those of you that aren't on YouTube. But I mean, it's off-putting. You have to be open to the conversation. You have to be open to saying, hey, I knew you. I saw you at this one place. So-and-so recommended you. Exactly.
And that's how we get a lot of our hosts and a lot of the people that come to the dinner is they come to one, and then the word just spreads, and they hear about it, and they're like, oh, I want to host, or I'd like to cook, or I'd like to attend, or I know someone who would like to attend. So really the chefs and the people who've hosted and the guests who have come to a Transformation Table dinner are my ambassadors. They're the ones really that help bring me people that attend these dinners.
Wanting to touch on that, this is the American Marketing Association podcast.
Thank you,
right?
Jake.
What kind of marketing are you doing to get the Transformation Table name out there?
Well,
has it been all word of mouth?
Has been all word of mouth.
Wow.
Until I have the social media person now.
Yeah. She's great. She's on our board.
Yes.
She's a bad A. She does it all, but she's very good. Her own, and I was just telling her this the other day at our status, her own personal brand is amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely. She came and spoke to our marketing class last night.
Oh, did she?
That's right.
Yeah, with Courtney, who's also on the board.
Yep.
And she was absolutely phenomenal. Went into how she approaches, community tables, the different ideas, the different strategies.
Oh, fantastic.
And the execution. Me being in the social media industry itself, I learned so much from her talk last night.
Well, I'm learning a lot from her because, like I said, for me, it was all word of mouth. And I would post maybe one thing. I don't even think I had Instagram. Did I have Instagram at the time? If I did, I wasn't using it.
It was MySpace.
It's way back in the day, but I did have Facebook, and I don't remember when I had Instagram. But I did not use Facebook very well. I didn't use because I didn't know how to use it, and I was intimidated. So I did probably the worst thing that you should do is post something and then I disappear, and then I post again and then I disappear. So I was not consistent with posting, and I think that had an impact, on people getting behind Transformation Table and understanding, aside from the people that have already been, you know what I mean? So when I got Taylor, it really showed me the importance of a couple of things. One is if you don't know how to do it, find someone who does.
Yeah. Surround yourself with somebody.
Because I didn't have the bandwidth, and because I'm only me with Transformation Table. It's just me.
Well, you're out meeting people, chefs, and
right. So that's my thing. So I was like, I need, if this is going to grow and it's going to become what it should become, I do need that presence. And also because Transformation Table is such a visual thing, that photos. I have an amazing photographer, JB McCabe.
Yes, nice guy. What a sweetheart of a man he was.
He's wonderful.
I was able to meet him.
He's one of my favorite people. But he was my first photographer, and he's been my photographer for all of my dinners.
That's what he was saying.
Yes.
Every dinner.
Yes.
And he knew everybody so well too. All the chefs. And
he does.
Yes. Guests.
Yes.
And I was like, man, this guy.
And what has been important with that is he knows how to capture the dinners. He knows how to capture the interaction that people have with each other, because again, it's such a visual, a visual event and a visual type of thing, that it's really important that people see those images of people connecting with each other and people talking and people, holding a platter of food and someone is serving themselves, who looks completely different from them. So, images are super important for transformation
Absolutely.
table. So
being an expert in that industry, I think it's fantastic that you're making the effort to capture that. And I know we were talking about it earlier. I want to say a little bit against social media, about more hesitant.
Yeah, I just didn't know how to do it.
And I feel like nowadays it's like very important. It's the number one way to get the visual element of your story out. And so where I'm getting with this is, where are you going to do about the audio and the visual element outside of photography? Are you going to be trying to incorporate video aspects into the future?
I think, and Taylor and I have had conversations about this, because, I've done dinners since 2016 and I only have photos. I'm hesitant to bring in video only because it's an intimate experience. And I don't want to have cameras, or I don't want to have anything that's going to distract people from feeling comfortable connecting with each other. Now, it's a little bit different, because this time
we had 100 people.
We had 100 people.
It was still, I felt like I was still in their face though. Did you get some complaints about?
I got none.
Get those videographers out of my face.
I got none. Same thing with JB. It's like you guys were like flies on the wall,
Okay,
and
good.
really nobody said a word to me.
Cool.
But what was really great about that was, we were able to, get some incredible video, which I had no idea that you were going to do all of that. And just to kind of explain, Mike and Rumbo did a what do you call it, like a compilation video of the dinner, and then they got some really great testimonials from people in the community, and then
the mayor. Not just people of the community. We got
Mayor and Sandy.
Sandy and the mayor, as I like to title it.
Sandy and the mayor, Tecklenburg.
She was the showstopper.
They did a really nice testimonial for us, and then we had Alex and Lynn, who, when you were talking about connections and stories, one of the recent ones that came from the community dinner is Lynn and Alex were at the same table, and Alex is a wheelchair user. And Lynn had never met someone in a wheelchair before. She'd never spoken to someone in a wheelchair before. So she was not quite sure how to act, around him. And he was open enough, and I think the environment was welcoming enough and safe enough that she could ask him questions. She could ask him, am I supposed to help you? How do I, can I help you? Or how does this work? And they were at it. The whole they're like best buddies now.
They were bonded at the end there.
They totally bonded. And I saw Alex yesterday, and they're getting together next week.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
awesome.
great.
Yeah. So they and that's what it's about. It's about people having interactions and experiences and connections with people that they may not come across in their everyday life, maybe, But for me, it's also about changing perspectives and changing assumptions and stereotypes. So, Lynn meeting Alex, this wheelchair user, now when she sees a person with a disability, she's going to think very differently about them, because she has developed this friendship with Alex and has had this interaction and conversation with him.
At the very least, be open.
Absolutely.
To the conversation versus other people just kind of be like, hi, nodding. Like myself, I would just nod. She might now be more prone to, hi, how are you? What is your day like? What are you doing? Like maybe having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, maybe it'd be easier to just go up to someone who's different,
100%.
And
that's the
that's
hard
the goal.
part.
It's like just getting people in front of each other.
Yep. No, what you're doing is amazing. So to answer Jake's question on the marketing side of things, because we are the Charleston Marketing.
Yes.
The videos, the interviews.
Oh, yes.
The interviews are ways that we were helping tell the story a little bit more, rather than getting in their face.
What about like a hidden microphone? Do you think that some of these conversations that are having should be?
Honestly, no.
Yeah,
because again,
too personal.
It's and also too, it's not about people. I think one thing is capturing the stories in what do you want to say?
Well, having a sidebar interview.
Yeah, a sidebar interview or something like afterwards.
Yeah.
To get people's stories and to, do it that way. but definitely not during the event. It's
You just want to keep that very private.
it's a private thing. It's not, and honestly, this is going to sound terrible, but I almost don't care what we talk about. It's about people having that connection and finding those points of connection where they learn something about each other. They find those common points, and it always happens.
So instead of a microphone, which is a little voyeuristic, that's fine. But what you do really cool at the end of the dinner, we talk about the runner and how they kind of sign.
Oh,
so
yes.
we do get like testimonials, if you
Yes.
will, on.
Yeah. So the way that we basically get testimonials is at the end of every meal, I have people sign the tablecloth.
That's awesome.
And so I have, a couple now, but I have, I bring a white tablecloth to every meal, and it's got some food stains on it, even though it's dry clean, but it's got some food stains on it. It's got,
That's real.
Lots of signatures and lots of comments and all of that. So that is basically our testimonials, which are really great because some of them are very profound, and also I think what I love about having social media now that is now consistent, because we're on Facebook and Instagram, is we're reaching out to people that we wouldn't have reached
100%.
that we wouldn't have otherwise reached.
It's the beauty of social.
Yes, and it's also bringing people back into the transformation table community, because obviously with COVID we stopped everything. So this the community table event was the first event we've had in 2 years. I tried, once COVID happened and we went into lockdown, I tried to quote pivot online, and it did not work. And I decided I don't want to water it down. I don't want to water the experience down.
What was
it becomes
that? What
something.
Was that? What are you pivoting online? Are you doing a Zoom dinner?
Yeah, I tried it. I tried it a few times. And who wants to watch themselves eat on Zoom? So I just honestly, for me, it's more. It's about passing the platters and having those intimate interactions and all of that. So I was happy to have the time and the space to really think about Transformation Table and what to do next. And before COVID happened, there were people that were interested in other communities that were interested in having Transformation Table.
Yeah.
So I decided going forward, I'm packaging it as a community tool for communities to use the way that they see fit within their own communities. So for example, in Charleston, we have our intimate 10-person dinners. We have used Transformation Table with nonprofit organizations and had dinners between stakeholders and the organizations, which have been really interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
We did an event at the Gibbs Museum of Modern Art. We had a chef, Matthew Rayford from Georgia, come up, and it was in the traveling exhibit for the Studio Museum of Harlem. And so we had 50 people. We had dinner in the Rotunda, and Matthew picked, I think it was 5 different pieces from the exhibit and made a corresponding dish.
That's awesome.
So cool.
So that was an event that we had. We also had an event at Magnolia Plantation and Gardens.
Hold on. He made a dish that paired well with
That
the
paired
art.
well with the art.
Not
yes.
the wine, but I'm
No,
sure there was wine
with the
somewhere in
art.
there.
With
But-
the art.
but the
And
food-
then before that, we also had a cocktail hour, and the guest had a private tour of the exhibit before
That's
dinner.
just cool.
It was fantastic.
So you said that you had a dinner at Magnolia Plantation.
Yes.
Being a person of color, how do you feel about plantations being used nowadays for events and weddings? There's a lot of controversy that is around that.
I mean,
and
celebrities
posting-
were like apologizing for having weddings at a plantation. Is that what?
Well, we had an interesting conversation. So when we did our event, I did get some pushback, and I was worried because we had dinner on the porch of the big house. So what it was about was we partnered with Joseph Opala and his wife Fatima, who is from Sierra Leone, and he talked about the history between Sierra Leone and the connection between Sierra Leone and Charleston around the rice trade.
Yes.
And so Fatima did this beautiful Sierra Leone dish featuring rice jollof. Okay. So it was and we had, I think, did we have 50 people? I think it might have been a little bit less than 50 people. But part of the conversation that we had was, what is the relevance of plantations now? And I think part of the conversation was, is there a way to engage young people with the history so they know the history and they understand the history?
Yeah.
So I was nervous about having it. I thought that it was going to negatively impact Transformation Table, but I think because of the thoughtfulness of the event and the conversation that we wanted to have at the event, to me, that's what made it interesting.
About, right?
Yes. So, having conversations at places like that foster that kind of conversation, I'm all about that.
Oh, I'm sure you
know.
are. That was your mission.
Would I have a wedding there? No.
Yeah.
I'm,
Right.
I don't, no.
Right.
No.
Yes, your point of view, and everybody respects that for sure.
Yeah,
but having the dinner there is part of the conversation.
It's part of the conversation.
It's part of the mission.
It's part of Table. It's part of the conversation.
That's a good point there, Jake.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. So, I think it's interesting to have, and I hope we're able to do more like that. Have conversations in historical places where we can have conversations about history and about
controversialness that has happened through it.
But at the same time, having it over a great meal because people get relaxed and it's not controversial, but you're able to have conversations respectfully. People are listening to each other. They're voicing their opinions and everything, but it's done in a respectful way, and it can be done in a respectful way.
You know what? I might just plug in the video so they can see it.
Shall prosper, everything nice. Me and mine catching our vibes. I done been down here the same time. No ghost gon' make this thing right. Cause I've been up way too early, way too hardy. Pray my God who heal somebody. Music gon' change your body up. Better come join this party. Way too early, way too hardy. Pray my God who heal somebody. Music gon' change your body up. Better come join this party.
I am thrilled that you all are here. My name is Tina Singleton. I am the founder of Transformation Table, and I want to thank you. I want to officially welcome all of you to this wonderful dinner. I'm sorry, I'm a real big baby, just so y'all know. So if I get a little, but the mission of Transformation Table is to create space to bring people of different backgrounds, perspectives, and life experiences together to share a meal. And the reason that is so important and that we need that more now than ever is because we see how fractious we have been in the world, and we're moving in the wrong direction. And I think that the more we have space for each of us to bring our own unique selves to the table and to our communities, and that we all get to know each other in our own beautiful, unique selves, that we can make the world such a better place. So this is the relaunch of Transformation Table. Obviously, we know with COVID, we had to stop everything. So this is the official relaunch. I'm really, really happy to have all of you here. I thank you for being open and being willing to have this experience. I know it's not easy to come to an event and sit with people that you have no idea who you're sitting next to. And you just kind of wonder who's gonna be at my table and what's gonna happen. So I would just invite you all for these next few hours to open your hearts, open your minds, and just bring yourself, just bring your unique self. So thank you so much for being here. You're in for an amazing story from women from across the globe. And I think you are going to enjoy both their stories, their unique food stories, and the dishes that they are going to be presenting to you, which they have made with so much love.
We've got about 15 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm having a great conversation. Jake, are you okay over there?
Yeah,
you awake? Jake's awake still. Great
I better
questions, by the way. Tina doesn't hate us yet, and Mike's still over here working hard. So thank you for your time, Mike.
Mike, you want to give a little wave to the...
Oh, there he is. Going back to the marketing side of things, going back to the relaunch, you had a new website, and you packaged up these different price point. What is it? How do you do? How do you price point these out? How do you package these things together? And
The dinners?
How are you making money? Like, what? Are you getting sponsors at least?
Okay, so this is part of the restructure, because when I started, I was doing it, quote, as a for-profit, and I was charging.
Yeah.
At the same time, my biggest issue was making sure that the dinners are inclusive, and that anybody in the community that wants to attend a dinner can attend a dinner.
Right. But these
So
dinners
for that kind of model, and we do really nice
they're
dinners.
nice dinners.
They're very, very,
they're like $100
they're very
a head.
good. So let's just say I did not make any money.
Right.
To start. So what we're doing now, and this is part of the restructure, is we're on our way to becoming a nonprofit. We're looking at that model, but Transformation Table is a fiscal sponsor project of United Charitable, which is based in Virginia.
Okay.
And what that means is Transformation Table can operate as a nonprofit under their EIN number without having to be a nonprofit, which means that United Charitable handles all of the administrative tasks of a nonprofit. So taxes,
which is
payroll, all of that stuff. And I
refiling
can focus,
annually.
Exactly. And I can focus on programming. I can focus on the restructure of Transformation Table. I can structure on, we're working on a toolkit for communities. So I can focus on that. I can focus on fundraising, because we can fundraise now. We can get donors now.
Right.
We did just get a wine sponsor, which I don't know if I should name them now.
Don't name them.
I don't think they
to be
will
determined.
mind.
That's fine. We'll tell everybody about the wine later.
Yes,
Insert
yes.
flashy
But we did get, because I haven't gotten permission
The
from them.
suspense is killing me, Tina. I need to know.
haven't gotten permission from them to announce it. But,
Of course.
But we do have a wine sponsor now,
Amazing,
which is
amazing.
really exciting. And so we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for donors. We're going to be starting a fundraising campaign fairly soon.
Okay.
And because and we're looking for, corporate donors that would be willing to underwrite some of these dinners, so we can be as inclusive as possible.
Right.
And we can have, as diverse a table as we have in Charleston and the Lowcountry.
So Boeing emails you and says, we want to have a dinner. We've got our stakeholders and we've got our rookie employees, or whoever.
We would absolutely do that.
You would absolutely do that. You would say, okay, how many people do you have? What's
Well, I mean, think about how interesting it would be to have the person that works in the mail room, or
100%.
the janitor who's eating with the CEO, and the HR person, at mid-level management. How interesting would that be?
Oh, it sounds like a great product that we need, and I can't believe nobody's doing it. Another thing I can't believe nobody else is doing is talk about the Virginia. Who is the? I almost saw it like it's like you have a real estate license and you can broker under this real estate license, right? So you went to the nonprofit. You have the nonprofit status.
Right.
Who are those people that you have a nonprofit status with again?
Oh, United Charitable.
United Charitables,
Yes.
and they're based out of.
They're based out of Virginia.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. And the reason that I did it that way too is because I'm only one person, and right now I'm a one woman show, and I didn't want to have all of that responsibility of a brand new nonprofit on my just on myself, but also too part of the structure of the fiscal sponsors. I have to have an advisory committee. So I have a 3-person advisory committee that is working with me. We meet once a month, and they help me with thinking through programming and thinking through, thinking through this restructure, and fundraising and all of that. And we'll be adding to that as we go. So, I'm moving from being a one-woman show to now having an advisory committee. And I have,
Social
Taylor,
media.
who's my social media person.
A new website.
Yeah, Cloud9 has been helping me with nonprofit advising. A trio developed our new website, which is beautiful. And so it's definitely taking a village.
You're building your team.
I'm building my team, and it's kind of exciting.
So you had to build your chef team. You had to build your people and your community.
Yes.
And then now you're building your marketing.
Our team, yes, that, and and once we get some funding underneath us, we want to hire some staff. We want to
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
our Charleston program person and, and move from there. So I
Right,
can
so
work
the
on big vision.
Next would be Nashville or DC.
Absolutely. Well, we have interest in a couple of different cities. So, and also here. So I want to,
Any
get
international listed?
cracking on that.
What about worldwide? He asks.
That is the plan. I actually recently relocated to Portugal.
Oh.
So that may be the first.
No big deal.
That
Just
may
gonna
be
move
that
to
may be the
Portugal.
first. That may be the first location.
So are you
You
living
know?
in Portugal now? And then did you just like fly out to Charleston for this podcast?
Just for this podcast, you just flew in.
I'm still finishing up. I'm still finishing up here, and I'll be coming back and forth. Yeah.
So how do you
But I
plan-
love living overseas, and it's just a part of my DNA. So it was time for me to kind
absolutely.
of get back.
How do you plan on growing the Charleston Transformation Table while you're in Portugal?
We do it all. We do it all online.
building that team
I
she's
have
talking
my
about.
advisory committee. That's here. We have a workspace with Lowcountry Local First. So we're a member.
Yep,
of
love those
them.
team. We're talking to Steve soon here. Steve
Yes.
Fletcher.
Oh, great. Yep.
he's
So
gonna be on
we've
the
got a
podcast.
shared workspace there. So that's our address. We are based in Charleston. Charleston is our HQ.
Why?
Why?
Charleston? Why Charleston?
Because we started here.
Okay.
This will always be Transformation Table's home.
Why did you even come here in the first place? What brought you? What brings you? And what keeps you here in Charleston?
My family is from Sumter. My parents are both from Sumter.
Okay.
And I have relatives in Sumter. I have an aunt. Well, I had an aunt in Savannah at the time when I moved here. And since I had been living overseas for so long, coming to Charleston was a way for me to be closer to family and to kind of reconnect with my family, and kind of get some roots, some roots down in,
Right.
with them. And that's been great. It's been really nice. But at the same time, they know that I'm a global girl, and they weren't surprised when I said I was moving, and but it's just who I am, and I think
Sure.
it's important to be kind of true to who you are, and,
That's
and
transformation
what makes
table.
you what makes you really, really happy. So yeah, Charleston's been great, and like I said, because Transformation Table started here, this will always be its home. The story behind it, the evolution, everything. It was. I don't know if I would have been able to do Transformation Table anywhere else. The way
Your support system
that it evolved. I mean, it just the way that it started and all of that. It has like this really rich history.
Well, the food alone, right?
Yeah.
We're a foodie town.
Exactly.
So
It was very easy to do, and it was really easy to find chefs. People
I'm
love
sure it was
food.
not easy, by the way. I'm sure it was maybe easy for Tina, but I'm sure developing this mission alone.
Well, no, I
is-
think it's just being open and talking to
Thank
people.
you.
That's how it happens. Like
Right.
you were talking about marketing and everything. Word of mouth has been my marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm really happy to have my social media. My social media has grown
leaps and bounds.
exponentially.
Yeah.
It really has, and people have noticed. I have people saying, "Wow, we really love your social media. Are you doing that?" I'm like, "Are you kidding?" No, Taylor does that. But it's been great. The feedback has been really wonderful in terms of our social media, and what has been good for Transformation Table is that people are understanding what Transformation Table is.
That's the whole point.
Through the social media, through the photos, through the videos, through that interaction on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
I think social media is the number one way and to reach the largest and the most diverse amount of people in the shortest period of time.
I'm learning that.
We're also on a radio station here too, guys. So Charleston Radio Group's here. They also do a good job reaching the right demographic for you too. Plug Charleston Radio Group.
No, I mean, and this is great because that's the goal is to push this out beyond Charleston.
It's needed.
It is needed. It's very much needed.
Very much needed.
It is.
Jake,
I would
what
agree.
else? I know your big brain over there has got a bunch of questions going on. We got 5 more minutes until Mike's going to race us out the door.
Thank you for putting me on the spot, other Mike.
Yes, no problem.
What is it? So after I'm guessing Portugal's next, correct?
But you're not leaving. I mean,
No.
she still has roots here,
I'm
right?
still
So-
I'm still the heading up Transformation Table,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm building my team. I want to hire. I will hire someone for Charleston. That will help be the boots on the ground.
Nice.
And kind of be the Tina in Charleston. Because the other thing too is that it's not sustainable for it to just be me.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are with the growth is to get more people on board. I want to have volunteer facilitators. We're calling them facilitators right now. We have a better name for them, but I want people in the community to be the ones that are facilitating dinners in the community, because I want Transformation Table to belong to the community.
What has been the
Conversation
hardest
starters.
challenge that you have faced with Transformation Table so far?
Biggest challenge?
This guy with the questions, huh?
I think for me, really figuring out how to be as inclusive as possible and figure out what the model is in terms of, like you were saying, making money and getting funding and all of that. I think that's going to be the happy medium, because my number one non-negotiable is that it's inclusive. And so for me, I think it's the challenge is figuring out what that model is and how do you balance income streams and how do you balance, the mission.
But
So it
if
meets in the
you mission focus, everything else will fall.
I agree. I think so.
Don't you
And I
think?
think it's
I mean,
starting to
Absolutely.
happen.
You have to
I think it's
intentionally
starting
find
to
the other
happen.
things. But if you were mission focused, like we are here at the Charleston Marketing Association, we're trying to build a community similar to what you're building. You're just way more inclusive. We're trying to be inclusive too. We want everybody. We want to talk to everybody. We want marketing here in the local area to thrive, advertising and marketing. So we're kind of in the same mission to build community.
Right.
Maybe we can do a Transformation Table AMA table.
There you go.
We
That
can
would be
have-
awesome.
We can have people from marketing, from all the way from traditional social media, college kids getting into it, to all broads of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just easy. I mean, you have to be intentional, but
Yes.
it's a meal and it's food. I mean, what's more universal than food?
I'm a college
You
kid.
know, people love to
More
eat.
than pizza,
I
Kaz.
love to eat.
People
She's not
love to
serving
eat,
pizza.
You
I'll
can
take a free meal any second I can get.
absolutely. You can have a picnic. You can do. I mean, there's so many different
free
ways that you can do it. It's just a matter of being intentional
Yeah.
about who's around the table.
Oh,
That's the big thing.
what a great mission, Tina. Thank you. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
else that we missed that we have to? What are you trying to say there, Mike? I love it. Can Transformation Table fix Washington, D.C.? Good question. We'll save that for the next conversation, Mike. Thank you very much. I don't think we can
That's a
finish
very
that one
good question.
in 2 minutes.
That's a very good question.
What was I saying? I was trying to wrap this up. Is there anything that I missed? Anything that Jake and I did not cover? And you relaunched. You have a new, what's your .com?
We are transformationtable.org.
Yep.
And we are looking for support. So if there's anyone out there that resonates with this mission and would be interested in being a sponsor, would be interested in donating to the mission, please go to our website, contact me. I am looking, if you're in a community outside of the Lowcountry and you think, Transformation Table may be really interesting for your community and you think your community needs it, I'd love to hear from you.
And it does.
Plug your socials.
So
Yeah.
socials, Transformation Table on Instagram and
Yep.
same on Facebook.
Transformation Table.
Yes.
How was your first podcast experience?
This was really good. It was really fun, actually.
bad, right?
No,
Talked
not at
about
all.
some good stuff here.
It was kind of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
So
yes.
thank you for having me. This
Thank
is
you for
really
coming.
this is really great. I really
Yes,
enjoyed it. Thank you.
yes. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next time.